What's going on, Dolphins fans? You know, it's my favorite day of the week aside from game day. It is Wednesday, and that means another Dolphins Live. And hey, we're on 1 hour earlier than normal. You know why? Because we got a ton to talk about. What a big day in Miami. Our guy, Jalen Ramsey, officially returning to practice. You know we're going to talk all about it and what it means for the Dolphins. We've also got our weekly mailbag, a highlight of the week. Ask anything. Nothing is off the table. I know that. You know that. It's always a good time. And as that trade deadline is lurking in the not-so-distant future, we talk about some Dolphins trade targets. You know, I kind of coincide the trade deadline with Halloween, right? Spooky season, maybe some spooktacular deals that the Dolphins can make because we know they are buyers at this year's trade deadline. So we'll talk all about that. But first, I got to know who's excited for Jalen Ramsey to be back. Here's the official tweet from Cameron Wolf, one of the Dolphins insiders. Dolphins quarterback Jalen Ramsey will return to practice today. And that was from earlier this morning. Can confirm that he's been seen on the Dolphins practice field. Looks good. No knee brace. Man, he is moving good. So show some love to our guy, Jalen Ramsey. He was a blockbuster offseason acquisition. And unfortunately, with the injury, we haven't been able to see him in the orange and aqua just yet. But he is trending to being able to play, perhaps, before the bye week. So show our guys some love. Spam it right now in the comments if you're excited to see Jalen Ramsey in the Dolphins uniform. Type those fives, baby. Type those fives. Man, I'm pumped up to be with everybody on Dolphins Today, a live edition. You know the routine. You know the drill. I got to know where you're watching from, and let's get some shout-outs going in the chat. Where's everybody watching from? I got to get my chat up here. There it goes. I was wondering, where is everybody? And Jake, you got to hit refresh on the chat. So let's see who we got. Sherry May, always can count on her. She's a real one. Chris Latimer, good to see you. Hey, how's it going? Tom Kiger, what's going on? Chad Jones is in the comments. Who? Chad Jones. Bill Lyon, he's part of Fins fam, of course. Brian Corsi, let's go Fins. Trav Murray, Tony Mount, Bill Lyon, Chad Jones, Chris Latimer. Everybody's in the chat, and man, it is good to see the Dolphins fam, the Dolphins community, all part of this awesome Dolphins community that I'm blessed to be a part of. So let me know where you're watching from. Sherry May, the Space Coast of Florida. Hell yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Amarto Days watching in Miami. Brian Mullen says, Fins up forever. We got James Wardrop watching in Illinois. Brian Miller in the 305. That's what I'm talking about. Austin Marios. That's what I'm talking about. It's always great to see the Fins fam on full display. Brian Corsi's watching from Maryland. Stanley Holmes, South Miami. Dade County's the 305 kid. That's what I'm talking about. I love it. Let's keep it going. A few more, why not? Ben Watts is watching in Iowa. We got Stephen Carey in Cape Coral, Indiana for PL Stars. Jake is watching in Fargo, North Dakota. See, we span the entire nation. And many of our watch parties, many of our live shows are also spanning internationally. That's what we love about Dolphins Today. Who else we got in there? Mario Gonzalez. That's what I'm talking about. I'm so excited already. I got to go to the Dolphins Fuel early. I appreciate your patience. I'm fighting through it so that I can be ready to go for our watch party on Sunday. Sunday Night Football against the Eagles. It's going to be a blast. Who else we got in the chat? Daniel Highland, Nashville, Tennessee. We got J.E.K., Bakersfield, California. Mario Gonzalez is watching from Mario Rancho. AXYOM, Broward County. Oh, that's right, Sunrise. I remember this guy. That's right. I got to remember how to say it. It's Axie0M, if I'm remembering correctly. But thanks for joining the show. Really appreciate it as well. We got Austin Marios, a big truck driver from the 954. He's in Chicago, Illinois. That's what I'm talking about. Brian Mullen. Been a Dolphins fan since birth. There we go. Trav Murray, fins up. Todd Watson, Todd Brooksville, Florida. That's what I'm talking about. Sherry May. There we go. Sherry May, I love the comment. Get some emergency. Yeah, perhaps I'll have to. The weather's getting a little bit cooler. We're into the fall times. I'll be ready to go by game day, though. That's what you need to know. You know who's always ready to go? That's our proud sponsor of today's Dolphins episode. Prize Picks, far and away the easy and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. I love Prize Picks. I tell you about them almost every day here on the show, and there's several different reasons I love Prize Picks. Most importantly, it's super easy to use. All you do is simply pick more or less on a player's projected stat line. Other reason I like it, you're not playing against anybody else. You're not playing against some big pool, a bunch of sharks, or people that know their stuff. And you're just going against the projections, right? So you're picking more or less. And you know what? I got my picks for this Sunday on the screen, and I got a little roughed up last couple of times out. I'm not going to lie. So I stopped picking against the opposition. I'm keeping it real simple this week. Frankly, I think it's stealing picking with Tyreek Hill for more than 0.5 receiving touchdowns or rushing touchdowns or passing touchdowns. So I'm picking more with that. All the Cheetah has to do is get in the end zone once, and you can almost count on that. So, of course, I'm picking more. And Jalen Waddle has kind of been waiting for that breakout game. Maybe we see it Sunday night in Philadelphia. So I'm picking more for his projected receiving stat total of 64.5. Let me know what you're doing as well. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. And for being a Dolphins fan, we've got a $100 deposit match for you. Once again, that's PrizePicks.com/CLNS. And you know we always make it easy on you and put the link in the description of today's video. So go to PrizePicks.com/CLNS, create your account using that promo code CLNS, and we've got a $100 deposit match for you. PrizePicks, easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. $100 deposit match for you at PrizePicks.com/CLNS. And speaking of Sunday night football, it can't get here soon enough. We had our preview yesterday, and it's Wednesday, but I feel like it should be Saturday night, and I should be ready to go. So, as a little teaser, as just a little bit to wet the whistle, if you will, get you ready for Sunday night. Let me know in the comments who you got. Type D for Dolphins or E for Eagles, and I swear, if I see any E's in that comments, I'm coming after you. I don't know who it is. No, you're always entitled to your own opinion. If you think the Eagles are going to win, you can type E in the comments. But let me see those D's. Oh no, Axie0M put in E. Oh good, he changed it. We're all right. I was gonna come unhinged in the first 10 minutes of being live here because we had an E in the chat. But there we go. Howard, Sleepy King, Axie, OM, Stuart Paul, Mike Jones, Danielle Highland, Dante Barsati Music. There we go. Todd Watson, D's, baby. That's what I'm talking about. The Dolphins and the Eagles. And if you missed our preview from yesterday, do yourself a favor. Check it out. I got to, and Jack even said this. Shout out to producer Jack, by the way. Jack Lauderay's in the house. We love producer Jack, a staple of our Dolphins watch party. But he and I both, there he is. That's my guy. The Dolphins hat, everything. He's got it going. Jack Lauderay. Jack, didn't we say that preview was a lot of fun yesterday? Because it felt like it's arguably, no, it is. I'm going to say it's the most compelling game on the slate. There's a lot of different storylines, AFC, NFC, good versus good. It was a lot of fun putting that preview together. So if you haven't checked it out yet, it's on our page, Dolphins Today. And that's why you subscribe, because we're bringing you can't miss previews, detailed information, injury updates, trade rumors, watch parties, live shows, you name it, it's on Dolphins Today. And another exciting component of Dolphins Today are Venmo 50/50s, and we've had a lot of fun on the watch parties with these, and we're going to continue it. Now, we are raising the stakes, and you guys know sometimes Jack and I will let you kind of inside the offices of Chat Sports and the powers that be. We have our live show meetings, and we put together how we want to approach our live watch party for Sunday. And with it being such a big game, the folks at Chat Sports have bestowed upon Jack and I, I'm going to go ahead and, it's a legendary, potentially a legendary item with our 50/50 raffle. So that's just a little teaser, because that's what we do here on Dolphins Today. We keep you interested. I'm just going to tell you, on Sunday, our watch party 50/50 raffle giveaway is something you don't want to miss. So you can already get in on the action with a $20 Venmo. We're raising the stakes because the prize is arguably one of the best ones we've ever given away. So $20 to enter. If you want to wait until Sunday, you can. But if you want to get in on it right away, we'll get that ball rolling right away with a $20 Venmo for the 50/50 raffle. And you know, we rolled out the Dolphins race on last Sunday as well. That was a huge hit. That was a huge hit for all ages. I had my 3-year-old nephew I talked to. He's like, the Dolphins race was awesome, Jake. That was great. So, listen, I'm not saying it's for 3-year-olds. I'm just saying it's for everybody. The Dolphins race are electric. So, without further ado, who's ready to get it going on Dolphins Today? Show some love, like the video, because let's see. We got over 100 people watching and less than 30 likes. That's embarrassing. That's embarrassing for me. It's embarrassing for all of us here. Like the video. We're not going anywhere until at least 50 likes. So if it's painful, that's fine. We'll just power through it. We got to like the video before we can start. All right, I see it climbing a little bit, though, but if you haven't liked that video, exit out of the chat for a second. It'll be right back waiting for you when you come back. Like that video. All right, we're up to 35. We need about 15 more. Like that video so that we can reach more Dolphins fans. We're on an hour early because there's so many juicy nuggets to get into. The Jalen Ramsey stuff, the injury updates, what Mike McDaniel said, some potential trade targets for the Dolphins. We're getting into all of that, but we can't start until we get those 50 likes on the video. Like, we're going. We are close, less than 10 away. That will make it happen. If you're able to like that video, exit out of the chat. We got over 110 people watching, but only 42 likes. Got it. All right. We got it. There we go. 50 likes. Now we can get it going. Who's ready to start the video? Let's do it. Dolphins Today starts right now. What a time to be a Dolphins fan. They're high atop the AFC at 5-1 with a Sunday night football showdown against the Eagles. And I'm on cloud nine. I don't know if you can tell or not, but I'm fired up, excited to be with you. My name is Chrs Riepma. I am your host. And let's get right into the news of the day. Dolphins fans, we've waited for this announcement for a while. Jalen Ramsey officially returning to practice today. Number 5 suited up in his practice uniform in the aqua and orange. And the huge offseason acquisition for the Dolphins is trending well ahead of schedule. and could return as soon as even before the Dolphins bye week in 3 weeks. So crazy to think, but hey, it's crazy the way modern medicine works, and a testament to our guy Jalen Ramsey and his rehab way ahead of schedule. He is back. 6-time Pro Bowler, 3-time All-Pro, won a Super Bowl in 2022. He was the splash acquisition of the Dolphins in the offseason, and boy, what a midseason boost that would be to a Dolphins defense who could use some help in the secondary. Now, we're going to talk about all that it means, but here's the official tweet from Marcel Louis-Jacques talking about what McDaniel said about Jalen Ramsey, saying he's cautiously optimistic that Jalen Ramsey will play before the Dolphins' Week 10 bye, which is crazy, but so awesome to hear. That's exceptional news. And so I know I'm excited. I know you're excited, but let me know by liking this video if you're excited to see Jalen Ramsey in a Dolphins uniform, competing, flying around, helping out that Dolphins secondary, and being that all-pro player and that type of player that can impact a defense that we know he is. So smash that like button. Jalen Ramsey returns to practice today, and the Dolphins at 5-1, high atop the AFC, are trending in the right direction of reloading and getting some major pieces back. Man, I'm excited. I know you can hear it in my voice. I am pumped for the return of Jalen Ramsey because it's going to be a much-needed boost for the secondary. And I don't want to call the secondary the weak spot of the defense because obviously the Dolphins are a team. They're a unit defensively, but they've gotten pressure on the quarterback. But defensively as a secondary in their one loss to the Buffalo Bills, that is where they were exposed. So Xavien Howard, your clear-cut cornerback number one, fighting a groin injury. That's something to keep an eye on. Caterco, who's been more effective as an inside corner in a dime or a nickel package or on the boundary. Eli Apple's the veteran, kind of had, I won't say a roller coaster season, but some games better than others. And the youngster, Cam Smith. So when you talk about adding Jalen Ramsey to this mix, what a boost that would be as a veteran, as a leader, and as an impact player to join the likes of Xavien Howard. Now, speaking of Xavien Howard, we know he's nagging that groin injury. It was something that took him out of the game against the Panthers. The game was well in the balance, so Mike McDaniel and company did not have him return, and there's no exact word on whether or not he could have returned. But with that said, we know that Xavien Howard is a crucial part of this defense, as is Connor Williams on the offensive side. So a quick little injury update here from Marcel Louis-Jacques, again talking about Connor Williams and Xavien Howard, saying they're day-to-day with groin injuries. They'll not practice today per Mike McDaniel. Now, Chris Brooks, we saw him a lot in mop-up time at the running back position. Unfortunately, after he had some really impressive runs and a guy that's showing a lot of promise, he went out with an ankle injury, and he's believed to be more on a week-to-week basis. Not season-ending injury, but again, that's a guy who I unfortunately is buried on the depth chart, just given the nature of the position group that the Dolphins have and the talent that they have at running back with Mostert, obviously Achane before the injury, Jeff Wilson potentially coming back. So we haven't seen a ton of Chris Brooks, the undrafted rookie out of BYU, but what we have seen has been impressive. However, he'll be more on a week-to-week basis with the injured ankle. Now, given the injuries in the secondary or potential injuries in the secondary, with Xavien Howard not returning to that game, we got to see the youngster Cam Smith, the rookie, second-round pick out of South Carolina. He made his NFL debut on Sunday, and I said it a couple of days ago. I'll say it again. I love seeing the youngster out there flying around. It's a guy you took a second-round pick in, so you obviously have invested in him. He showed a lot of signs of promise at both South Carolina and in the NFL Combine. I'm high on him, and I've just been so curious why he hasn't entered the starting, not even the starting lineup, but really the rotation, and why he hasn't had an opportunity to show what he can do. So I'm not wishing injury on anybody else, but if there's a case where Cam Smith has the opportunity to play a more involved role. I am just so curious what the rookie can do. 6'1", 180 pounds out of South Carolina, second-round pick, made his debut against the Panthers. And again, it was in garbage time, whatever you want to call it, late in the game, but I liked what I saw in a very limited sample size. So let me ask you this one. If Cam Smith, or does Cam Smith rather, see some more time on Sunday Night Football? Simple answer here. Type Y for yes or N for no. I'd love to see the rookie get a little bit more time because I think he can be an impactful player in the secondary. And after all, you drafted him second overall, or second in the second round, and believe he can make that kind of impact. Now, coming up, we're going to talk about a couple more roster moves that were made. Dolphins made a signing, had released a player. But first, I got to tell you about Prize Picks. You guys know I love Prize Picks. I'm actually kind of addicted to it. It's the most exciting and easiest way to play daily fantasy sports. It's real simple. And how does it work, Jake? Well, I'm so glad you asked. You simply pick more or less on a given player's stat projection. And there's lots of different stat projections you can get into. I like to keep it simple, I won't lie, but there's other different picks you can make. And this week, because I've been burned a couple of times, I'm keeping it real simple because, frankly, I think the top one here is stealing. Tyreek Hill, I'm picking more than 0.5 combined, now that's important, combined pass, rush, or receiving touchdowns. So, in essence, all Tyreek has to do is get in the end zone, and because I've picked more, I would be successful in that one. So pick more or less with Jalen Waddle. I think he's got a breakout game coming, so I've picked more on his projected receiving total at 64.5. And that's how it works. You're not competing against a bunch of people in a survivor pool or something like that. You're simply picking more or less for a player's projected stats. So don't waste any more time. Go ahead and create your account at prizepicks.com/CLNS. And for being a Dolphins fan, we've got a $100 deposit match waiting for you. It's that easy. Create the account. Use promo code CLNS for that $100 deposit match from your friends here at Dolphins Today. So we always make it easy on you. We put the link in the description and the comments of this video. So one more time, prizepicks.com/CLNS. Easy, exciting ways to play daily fantasy sports. I love it. You'll love it too. So go to prizepicks.com/CLNS for that $100 deposit match. All right, some Dolphins roster updates. You know, it was talked about Jeff Wilson potentially returning. We're going to get into that, and I'm excited to potentially see him in the running back rooms. But first, the latest roster moves. The Dolphins signed Quentin Bell to the practice squad. And they went ahead and released Chase Winovich. Now, Bell doesn't have a ton of NFL experience, played in 9 games in his career, most recently with the Atlanta Falcons. And Winovich, you might recall, he had, I wouldn't say a prominent career, but was more well-known at the University of Michigan, big program there in college, drafted in the 3rd round by New England, but never really materialized. He played a little bit for the Dolphins, even played on special teams last week, had a couple of tackles, but point being that Chase Winovich has been released by the Dolphins to make room for the signing of Quentin Bell. Take a look at Winovich's stats over his career: 107 tackles, 11 tackles for loss, does have 12 sacks and 26 quarterback hits, but most of that done in the early portion of his career, and the Dolphins have gone ahead and released him from their practice squad. Now, we've got you covered here on Dolphins Today. You guys know that. We're all about bringing you the greatest and latest Dolphins news, trade rumors, injury updates, all that. And that's why you subscribe. The bosses at Chat Sports said, Riepma, we need you to get to 48,000 subscriptions. Can you do it? And of course, I said, no problem. Dolphins fans are the best. They always show out. So I believe we can get to 48,000 subs in just a matter of days. So let's continue to build the audience. That's why we're bringing you all kinds of Dolphins content, daily updates, daily trade talk, everything as it relates to the Miami Dolphins. We've got you covered. So don't waste any more time. Go to youtube.com/Dolphins News to subscribe. Now, An interesting development I find, especially as it relates to the roster updates, is Jeff Wilson eyeing that return. The running back room has obviously beat up. It's a little bit banged up. Achan's out now. And of course, Chris Brooks is the latest running back to suffer an injury. So I would love to see Jeff Wilson back and able to help that running back room. We saw Salvon Ahmed as RB2 in a limited sample size on Sunday against the Panthers. Of course, Raheem Mostert leads the National Football League in total touchdowns. He's our guy. But in today's NFL and Mike McDaniel's system, you got to have multiple running backs. So I would love to see Jeff Wilson on Sunday against the Philadelphia Eagles. And I think it might happen. Take a look at this tweet from David Furones talking about Jeff Wilson, who was, quote, prepared enough to play. That's referring to the game on Sunday against the Panthers. But Mike McDaniel said the Dolphins needed to use that roster spot for the offensive lineman, Robert Jones. So Jeff Wilson is a guy that can help you. He's a proven running back in the National Football League. Take a look at his stats from just a year ago. Toted the rock 176 times, 5 touchdowns, 860 yards, averaged nearly 5 yards a carry. So that's a guy that can help this Dolphins offense. Another guy that helps this Dolphins offense, Connor Williams. It was great to see him make a sooner than expected return for that game against the Giants, but unfortunately he wasn't able to go against the Panthers with that groin injury, likely to sit out from practice moving forward, but still potential for him to play on Sunday against the Philadelphia Eagles on Sunday Night Football. Take a look at this tweet. Mike McDaniel said he wouldn't be surprised if Connor Williams doesn't practice Wednesday, but called him day-to-day developments. And that's kind of how he's been the last couple of weeks where, he's a veteran. You don't need to run him out to practice every day and preserve that health for trying to get him to play on Sunday. So, not exactly sure if we'll see him on Sunday, but we know what kind of impact he has on the offensive line, I should say. Also really exciting when you think about Jeff Wilson coming back, potentially Connor Williams, that reinforcements are coming. So part of the Dolphins suffering from the injury bug early in the season, without them being season-ending injuries, means there are guys on the horizon who are eyeing a return. We talked about Jeff Wilson. We talked about Connor Williams. We've talked about Jalen Ramsey. But don't forget about Devon Achan. I know he's on IR, but he's expected to return as soon as the Dolphins get through that bye week. And, Teron Armstead only played in 2 games, but he's also expected to return. It's not like he's lost for the season. So it's exciting to think of the weapons that the Dolphins have potentially returning sooner rather than later as this team gears up for a run, already at 5-1, the best record in the AFC, and could be reloading sooner rather than later. I got to give my guys some love. If you were with us on Sunday in the watch party, Raheem Mostert had himself another day with another day of 3 total touchdowns. He's been exceptional both in the run game and in the pass game. He's been a workhorse, and for his efforts, he was named AFC Offensive Player of the Week. So shout out to our guy, Raheem Mostert, 115 yards on 17 carries against the Panthers with 3 total touchdowns, 2 of them on the ground and 1 of them receiving. So don't waste any more time. Show our guy some love in the comments. Spam it 31. You know what to do. That's our guy, Raheem Mostert. Show some love in the comments. Number 31. Type it now. All right. I love you guys. Let's get some shout-outs going. Let's see it. Who we got still watching with us? We're almost up to 200 viewers. Sherry Mays in the chat. Derek Washington. Preston Farmer. If you want to shout out, type 31 in those comments. Let's see it. Dolphins 17-0. Brian Miller. Mike Jones. Kyle Deal. James Wardrop. Player of the Week, Raheem Mostert. Chris Latimer. That's what I'm talking about. And don't worry. We are just getting started on Dolphins Today, a live edition. We got so much more in store for you, which I love because we still got our mailbag segment to go where it's an Ask Anything. And with the trade deadline looming in the near future, we've got that as well. So if you're ready for a shout out in the comments, type me. Let's get it going. I see you, Chef Jew, Nicholas Brunette, Kyle Deal, Stanley Holmes. That's what I'm talking about. Gonna get some high quality H2O in as well. There we go. There we go. No espresso shots for me today. Those are a watch party special. Don't worry. Derek Washington. That's what I'm talking about. James Wardrop, Nicholas Brunette. Fins fan out here in Vegas. That's what I'm talking about. Fins fans are the best, man. I tell you what. Did anybody catch the Mike McDaniel mic'd up session? He's hilarious. I think we've got the best coach and the funniest coach in the National Football League, which makes our job easy. It makes it fun. It's like, hey, check out what the Dolphins did this week. You'll never believe it. They are awesome. Gotta love the Miami Dolphins. Bill Liam 31. He is Raheem Mostert. What moves can we make? I think is what you meant in the trade deadline. Well, we're going to talk about exactly that. How about that? XC0M. Let's see. Jared Smalley's in there. Woo! Oh, we got a Chiefs fan in the chat. Boo! Boo that Chiefs fan saying the Eagles are going to get this bounce back game for them. We will see, my friend. We will see. If you missed our preview, I found it interesting that this is the first time since 2015 that the Sunday Night Football matchup has featured two teams with a 5-1 record or better. Crazy. So the rest of the nation is in for a real treat. As always, you can super chat the show. If you want to get in on the Aqua Club, it's a $100 donation to Chat Sports. It doesn't go to me. It goes to the shows, and it goes to keeping the lights on so we can bring you more Dolphins content on the daily, because that's what you're here for. That's what you subscribe for. All right, what else we want to get into? Brian Miller. If you want to get in on the mailbag, use that hashtag Dolphins. So if you're new around here, we've got a mailbag every Wednesday with the questions hashtag Dolphins. That way we know where to find them, and we put you on the mailbag and answer your questions. Woo! Good question from Derek Washington there. We'll have to make sure we get that. Let's see. All right, Jack, we ready to go for our next segment? Yeah. Let's do it. All right, let's get it going with our news and trade talk segment on Dolphins Today. If you want the Dolphins to beat the Eagles on Sunday Night Football, it's real simple. You got to type me in the comments. Let me know. Type me in the comments. All right, Dolphins trade targets. There's lots to get into with this. We're just a few weeks away from the trade deadline. And when you're 5-1, high atop the AFC, it's okay to start thinking about who are some targets that you can identify and who are the potential blockbuster deals that are out there for the Dolphins to be buyers at the deadline. But I will level with you. I love this Dolphins team, but perhaps Chris Grier will make some moves to make them even better. So at this point in the season, 6 games in, you feel good about the 5-1 record. Clearly, the Dolphins are buyers at the trade deadline because it's fine. Because when you say Miami, we're talking Super Bowl, right? Everything necessary to make this Dolphins team a Super Bowl caliber team is what's on the table. So let's get it going. Do it right now free reign. Let's get creative. Name a player the Dolphins should trade for. I got a couple in mind, and if you've been scanning the NFL message boards as closely as I have, you know there's some potentially big names out there to make a blockbuster deal. So let me know in the comments. And this Dolphins team has proven they will make trades. Look at the roster, especially on defense, of impactful players. You see Bradley Chubb. He came over in a blockbuster deal. Of course, Jalen Ramsey. And remember, let's go over to offense. That guy, he's on pace to break the NFL record for receiving yards. Oh, yeah, Tyreek Hill. He came over in a trade as well. So the Dolphins, no strangers to blockbuster trades. In fact, you could make the case that there are multiple core components of this Dolphins team that were acquired via the trade. So let me know in the comments who you think the Dolphins should trade for. Now, some trade targets Jack and I have identified for the Miami Dolphins. Let's start up front because I see it. I read the message boards. I read the comments. We got to get more pressure on the quarterback. We got to get more sacks, which is kind of crazy because the Dolphins are actually second in the National Football League in sacks, and they're also in the top 10 in quarterback hurries as well. But it's never a bad idea to beef up the defensive line because I firmly believe games, especially on the defensive end, can be won or lost with how much pressure you can get on the quarterback. So Leonard Williams, defensive end for the Giants. We know the direction of the season for the Giants, but Leonard Williams has been impressive so far in 2023. 18 tackles, half a sack, 3 hits on the quarterback. And although that Giants team has really struggled, we know they are a bad football team. He has been a bright spot and would certainly be an asset for the Dolphins. So I've identified him as a potential player for the Dolphins to go after. He could use a fresh start within a new organization, just like Chase Claypool. There's still the book is still out on that trade, but that's a guy that has potential that the Dolphins are giving a fresh start to. So maybe Leonard Williams is that guy. Now, a guy that we saw on Sunday that was really shut down by this Dolphins offensive line and neutralized by an effective pass blocking scheme was Brian Burns. Plays a little bit outside linebacker, a little bit of an edge rusher. He's a guy that can really make an impact for whatever team he's playing for. He's been good for Carolina, even though they're winless. And check out his first 4 years of his career. So not just this year, but he's proven it year after year. Burst onto the scene as a rookie in 2019, playing 16 games and had over 7 sacks. 9 sacks in 2020, and I know there's more than just sacks, but anytime a player is registering that type of production with sacks, it certainly is noteworthy. 12.5 sacks a year ago, and so far this season, 4 sacks, 10 pressures, and a forced fumble to go along with 9 hits. So Brian Burns is going to make some team very, very happy, especially when you consider that Carolina is going to want to make some deals to try to regain some of that draft capital that they've given up over the last couple of years. So Brian Burns, a name to keep your eye out for if you're a Dolphins fan. He would give you an elite edge rusher to pair with Bradley Chubb, pair with Andrew Van Ginkel, also Jalen Phillips as long as he stays healthy. And then interior-wise, we know what Christian Wilkins can do, what Zach Sealer has done. Both of those guys have been so good in the last 2 games that I would love to see just one more asset added to the Dolphins defensive line. So let me know. Pick a defensive end in the comments. It's real simple. LW for Leonard Williams. BB for Brian Burns. Who do you want to see the Dolphins make that blockbuster trade for to beef up that defensive line and continue to improve upon a pass rush that is already very, very good, and give first-year defensive coordinator Vic Fangio another weapon at his disposal. Continuing on with our trade talks, how about Garrett Bowles? I've identified him as a target for the Dolphins, an offensive lineman, and it's so funny to see in the comments, it seems to be split 50-50, and I don't have the exact data for you, but half the people in the comments will yell and scream, Garrett Bowles is washed up, and the other half will say, yeah, we need an offensive lineman. So Garrett Bowles seems to be among one of the offensive linemen that's being talked about as someone that could move. Obviously, the Broncos season is spiraling downward and fast. The Sean Payton experiment has not worked out there. And when you consider the Dolphins' offensive line depth chart, when healthy, it's very, very good. It just hasn't been healthy. And even though they have been missing some guys, everybody on the offensive line has really stepped in admirably aside from the one game against Buffalo. But Bowles is a veteran guy that could bring some value to your offensive line. He's due $14 million this year. It's a steep price. I get that. Totally get that. But the offensive line market just really isn't that plentiful, is probably a good way to put it. There's not a lot of potential offensive linemen for the Dolphins to go at. So those in the comments, I know you want to get at me. We've seen this before. We know Garrett Bowles. But really, he is the name that continues to pop up in these trade rumors. 1 sack allowed, only 1 hit allowed, pressures allowed at 10, and an overall blocking grade at that 61.9 for Garrett Bowles. So I'm not saying he's the answer, but I read those comments. I know you guys want an offensive lineman brought to Miami. Garrett Bowles is the potential for Miami to target. Now, speaking of target, I always target the Dolphins when it comes to Prize Picks because they make it easy, baby. Prize Picks, what's that, Jake? I'm so glad you asked. They're a proud sponsor of today's episode of Dolphins Today. But most notably, it is the most easy and exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. I play it every Sunday with the Dolphins. I got burned on Monday Night Football. I won't lie to you guys, but it's real simple. You simply pick more or less in a player's projected stats, and you see if you're right. So with Tyreek Hill, he's projected 0.5 pass rush receiving touchdowns combined. So you either pick more or less. If you think he's going to stay out of the end zone, you'd pick less. If you think he's going to get into the end zone like I do, I'm picking more. Now, Jalen Waddle, I think he's due a breakout game, so I've picked more on his projected stat total of 64.5 receiving yards. So it's that simple. You're not playing in some big survivor pool. It's not against a bunch of experts. You don't need a bunch of complicated spreadsheets. You're simply picking more or less against the projected stat total for a player. And for being a Dolphins fan, you know the drill. We've got a special deal for you at prizepicks.com/CLNS, prizepicks.com/CLNS for a $100 deposit match. That's right. Let me just say that again, just in case, it's an ad, I'm tuning out. Don't worry. prizepicks.com/CLNS for a $100 deposit match. And just in case you didn't hear me, we've got the link in the comments and the description of today's video. So prizepicks.com/CLNS for a $100 deposit match. Prize Picks, easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Now, more trade talks for the Dolphins and players for the Dolphins to target. Perhaps a tight end could be of use for Frank Smith and Mike McDaniel on the offensive side. Hunter Henry in New England might be a guy that's going to get dealt because we know the Patriots are abysmal. They're brutal. We'll see him in a couple of weeks. And Hunter Henry is not having his best season perhaps, but is a guy that can add value to the roster. 183 yards receiving with the 2 touchdowns, averaging better than 10 yards a catch. And I like Durham Smythe. I really, really do. And Julian Campbell stepped in and been a good blocking tight end. We haven't really seen, Julian Hill, who went to Campbell, has been a good blocking tight end. Little trivia question for you. Did you know Julian Hill is the only NFL player from Campbell? Wild. That's why I had Campbell in my mind. So I do apologize for that. Croft has been a scratch the last couple of weeks, but Durham Smythe has been far and away the number 1 tight end. So Hunter Henry, a guy that you could add to that tight end depth chart. I don't know how aggressive the Dolphins will be with targeting a tight end, but something to just kind of store in your memory bank. Now, one that we visited a couple weeks ago after the Dolphins waxed the Broncos 70-20, and Patrick Surtain's dad tweeted out that he is just wasting away his talent in Denver. We talked about the possibility of bringing Pat Surtain to the Miami Dolphins. He is probably the most coveted defensive player on the trade block at this day and time. 143 tackles, 3 tackles for loss. But check it out, 7 interceptions, 30 pass breakups in his career. And he's so young, too. And I believe the asking price is going to be pretty high for Pat Surtain, but it might be worth it. And you pair him with Jalen Ramsey, look out, that'd be arguably, on paper, the best secondary. And we've talked a lot about the secondary, and I don't want to shortchange Xavien Howard because I think he's been really good. Cater Kohu's been really good. We haven't really seen a lot from Cam Smith, so we don't really know. Justin Bethel, it's been all right. You saw Perry Nicholson back in the lineup on Sunday against the Panthers. So there are a lot of guys there. And anytime we start talking trade talks, I don't want that to take away from the guys that are already suiting up in the aqua and orange. But if you have Super Bowl aspirations like the Dolphins do, it's okay to start experimenting with the potential idea of bringing in a blockbuster, game-changing corner. So sound off for me in the comments. This is your green light to have creative freedom. Whoever you want the Dolphins to go after, let me know in the comments. So we've identified some trade targets for you to kind of mull over, chew up a little bit. For now, I want to know from you who you want the Dolphins to go to. We've got a couple of more to add to it. How about Jaylon Johnson, playing cornerback for the Chicago Bears? The Bears have been terrible. Absolutely abysmal. And you know what? I feel bad for Bears fans because it seems like they deal with that a lot. But they are a team that obviously has nothing left to play for this season. The season's over. So you might as well make some trades. And Jaylon Johnson's a guy that could step in right away and have an immediate impact. Look at his 2023 coverage stats. Holding receivers to 52.9% on the completion percentage, 89 yards. And a guy that hasn't registered a lot of numbers because sometimes quarterbacks will just throw away from them. And luckily for us at Dolphins Today, we've got our very own Harrison Graham, the host of the Bears Report on Chat Sports. And he's a guy that you can talk to and pick his brain about what the Bears might be doing. He's got his finger on the pulse. And I ask him, what do you think the Bears might do with Jaylon Johnson? Quote, I would keep Jaylon Johnson on the team, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Bears decide to move him. So that's from our very own Harrison Graham. And just one more thing to keep in mind. So I'm going to ask you, pick a trade target. We've discussed a number of different options for the Dolphins. Leonard Williams, I want you to type 1. Brian Burns, go ahead and hit number 2 in the chat. Offensive lineman Garrett Bowles, type 3. Hunter Henry is your guy, then type number 4. If Pat Surtain is the guy you want, type a 5. And if it's Jaylon Johnson from the Bears, shoot that number 6 in the comments. Let me know. And that's what makes this fun. We're discussing who and why the Dolphins might make a move to continue to be Super Bowl contenders. Now, I want to ask you who the Dolphins should trade for. We've done it. Let me know in the comments. That's what makes it fun. Trade talk heating up on Dolphins Today. The deadline is right around the corner, so don't waste any more time. Let me know in the comments who the Dolphins should trade for. Woo! Lots of names on that list. Lots of names, and that is awesome because that means the Dolphins are in a position to compete for, yes, I'll say it, an AFC East title. I think that's what we want. And we got to give a shout out to our super chairs, Sherry May. Oh, nothing but love from me to you, from all of us here at Dolphins Today. You are the realest of the real, Sherry May, and we appreciate that. You help keep the lights on here at Chat Sports, help bring us more Dolphins content day in and day out with the Supers. We appreciate it. Who else we got? AJ. And yeah, let's read the message before we move on to the next one. Fins must not start slow. It won't be easy to climb out of that hole against Philadelphia. Great point. We said that on the Overreaction Monday that the Dolphins spotted the Panthers 14 points. Not great. Didn't love that, but I love the response, However, when you're playing a championship caliber team like the Eagles, the defending NFC champs, you can't spot the team 14 points. I think last Sunday against the Panthers was a wake-up call, just like Tua said against the Bills. Maybe they need to be humbled a little bit. And this week of preparation, trending towards that Sunday night football game, is a great wake-up call to not start slow. So great point, Sherry May. Another super chat from AJ and Nacho, a yellow dog. They sent two in there, a peach. Wow, how about that? Much appreciated for your support of Dolphins today. That is awesome. You got to love it. AJ and Nacho, a yellow dog. All right. All right. There we go. Now that we've named a Dolphins player or a player the Dolphins should trade for, let's read some shout-outs here. Looking at the chat. Woo! Max Crosby, Todd Watson says. Yeah, that's one that you're seeing a lot because he is such a game wrecker. I mean, you could say he plays at an MVP level at that defensive end rusher position and wreaks havoc on the opposition. I'd love to see Max Crosby in a Dolphins uniform. I think the asking price is going to be astronomical, but worth pointing out. Maybe Chris Greer, Mike McDaniel say, let's pull the trigger. Let's go for it. Let's try and make a blockbuster deal for Max Crosby. Who else we got in here? We need linebackers. Brian Burns could play a little linebacker. I have seen the rumors about Rob Gronkowski, Gronk, coming back to play tight end for the Dolphins. Listen, if it happens, we've got you covered. Instant reaction, all that good stuff. That's why you subscribe, but I'll level with you. I don't see it happen. I don't think Gronk's coming back. I think Gronk gets in those situations where he's just talking without thinking. Maybe you say, I do the same thing here on Dolphins Today. That's okay. But I think Gronk thought, yeah, it'd be fun to play football. The Dolphins seem like a fun team. Yeah. I don't think there was any kind of premeditated planning or thought-provoking analysis that went into that statement. I think it popped into his head and he said it. And again, if I'm wrong and he ends up playing for the Dolphins, I'll be the first to admit it. That'd be hilarious, and we'd bring you everything that it means on Dolphins Today, but I really don't think that's going to happen. Gronk will make this team unstoppable. Yeah, I mean Gronk from a couple years ago, yeah, but he's been on TV doing those cheesy commercials the last couple of years. I really don't know how much he's got left in the tank. Yeah, who's still with me on Dolphins Today? That's what I'm talking about. Let's make it happen. We got one more segment for you, and it is the weekly mailbag. So get your questions in. Hashtag Dolphins. There's nothing off limits. That's the way I'll put it. Nothing off limits. Let us know what you want to talk about on our weekly mailbag here as we get you ready for Sunday Night Football in Philadelphia against the 5-1 Eagles.
We need questions, though, Jake. I'm not seeing many questions in here. We can't get the video going until we get some questions in the chat.
Until we get some questions in the chat. Oh, no. Hey, maybe I've answered all your questions because the content and the coverage has been that good. Give myself a pat on the back, right? I don't think that works for the bosses, though, Jake. Sorry, pal. Yes. Yeah. All right, we got our weekly mailbag question all lined up for you, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So let's do it. Weekly mailbag starts right now. Today's show is presented by Manscaped.
We're going to tell you about Manscaped in just a sec, but Jake, we're going to talk about this sub battle we got going first off, real quick. Dolphins and Eagles. That's what we're going to do.
All right, yeah, we got a sub battle. Let's do it. We got to take down the Eagles this week. Listen, let me tell you about the Eagles channel. It is huge, it is growing, and we've got a pretty tall task, but a task I know we can take care of. So we need to beat the Eagles in subs today. Subs this week, 45 compared to the Eagles, 72 subs. How about that? There it is, 72 subs. So they're beating us, and we've got to beat them. I know we can do it. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, you got to do so. So let's make it happen. Dolphins today in a sub battle against the Eagles. Today's show is presented by Manscaped. Go to manscaped.com and use code DOLPHINS for 20% off. We will tell you all about the new Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra later in today's video, but Manscaped is making today's video happen. Let's get into the Super Chat questions and the weekly mailbag. Shout out to Sherry May for her Super Chats. Oh, we love the support of Dolphins today, and we appreciate you supporting the show. So, Fins must not start slow. It won't be easy to climb out of that hole against Philadelphia. That's exactly right. The Dolphins spotted the Panthers 14 points. You can't spot a team like the Eagles 14 points. There is no doubt about it. So, I'm confident that the Dolphins won't do that and that they'll come out ready to play in a hostile environment on the road at Lincoln Financial Field against the Philadelphia Eagles, and I can't wait for that. First question from our one and only Randy. That's our guy. What's up, Randy? Thanks for joining the show and sending in your question with the hashtag Dolphins. What exactly do you think was going on last week when we got down 14-0? How can we prevent that against the Eagles? Well, twofold. I think you got to give the Panthers some credit. I mean, they came out ready to play. Defensively, I saw some things from the Panthers that suggested they did their homework as far as scouting and being ready for the pre-snap motion. And twofold, the Dolphins didn't exactly execute. You know, they had that one third down and short. Tua did the fake QB sneak, then tried to throw it to Mostert. It was in front of him. Just a lot of little things. And football's a tough game. There's going to be drives where you're not all on the same page. There's going to be times where it's not all clicking. Maybe they were nonchalant in their preparation. You know, second consecutive game against a much inferior opponent. You know, that was the second consecutive game they were favored by more than 2 touchdowns, which is just crazy in the NFL. They were back at home, and I'm not making excuses. I don't want that to come across as excuses for the Dolphins, but more perhaps, you know, speculation of why the slow start came. But one thing's for sure, I think when Mike McDaniel and the rest of that Dolphins team takes a look at the tape on both the offense and the defense, they can identify why they started slow and ensure that doesn't happen again against the Eagles. Because there is no doubt about it. If they start that slow against the Eagles, it will most likely be too large of a hole to climb out of it. This one from Hanky Fins. Dolphins, do you think the Dolphins could trade for Chase Young? Now, we did not identify Chase Young in our most recent trade conversation talk for a couple of reasons. We hit on it 2 weeks ago, so if you want to go back, you can check out that video on the Dolphins Today page. Chase Young is on the thumbnail and everything. But the more I look at the Chase Young situation, it seems like more information has come out as of late. There was an article in The Athletic that provided all of the different odds for Chase Young's next team. And unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, the Dolphins were buried in that list. It's not really a realistic target for Chase Young. Take a look at these next team odds. You've got the Bears and the Lions as the two teams most likely to try to make a blockbuster deal for Chase Young. San Francisco right there, the Eagles right there at 6-1 odds, and the Ravens at 8-1 odds. So even 8-1 odds is kind of unheard of to make that happen, or just not really likely. And then you get into even more teams ahead of the Dolphins. Again, these odds are on Chase Young's next team. The Patriots, Steelers, Seahawks, and Jaguars Jaguars and Dolphins with the same 20-1 odds, but you get the idea. Is there are a lot of teams lining up at the door for Chase Young, and I think the Dolphins are somewhat in a position to be at the bottom. Now, stranger things have happened. Of course, Chase Young is a phenomenal player. Just look at those stats, especially in that rookie year in 2020 with 13 tackles for loss, 7.5 sacks, but his production has taken a hit, and obviously in 2020, only 3 games played. He did not play tremendously well, but he's back at it this year in 2023. So I think he'll help someone. I just don't think it will be the Miami Dolphins. But let me ask you, let's say you put on your GM hat. You're the general manager for the day. Would you trade for Chase Young? Type T if you want to go ahead and make that trade, or P if you want to go ahead and pass on that trade. Let me know in the comments. This one's from Batman. How about that? Batman seems to ask a question every week. Will Tua win the MVP? I love looking at MVP odds, and I know it's probably not even in the top 10 ways to evaluate how a team's doing because it's an individual award. But in Mike McDaniel's offense, with Mike McDaniel at the helm, the quarterback is in position to be prolific and to put up gaudy numbers like Tua is. And because of that, I'm not taking anything away from Tua. I think he has been playing at an MVP level. And the odds reflect that. Patrick Mahomes, Jared Goff of the Detroit Lions, and Tua Tagovailoa are your top 3 favorites to win the MVP. Josh Allen also climbing up that board because he just puts up ridiculous numbers as well. So because I love Tua, I love the Dolphins. I love the direction that they're heading. I think the schedule is actually pretty easy outside of the most recent games coming up. I know there's a few buried in the schedule. The Cowboys are on the schedule somewhere. And, of course, you got the Eagles and Chiefs in 2 out of the next 3 games. So, yes, there's some tough games, but there's also some games where I could see Tua going off. And because of that, I'll say, yeah, Tua's going to win the MVP. Tua for MVP. Tua for MVP. That's what I'm talking about. Thanks for the question, Batman. I do appreciate it. Now, some exciting news because Manscaped is sponsoring today's episode, and I love Manscaped. So listen up, everybody. I've got an announcement for you. It's an urgent message, if you will, because this episode is brought to you by Manscaped, the brand that took your balls to space. They are now launching them into the Ultra Spear. Introducing the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra, featuring a new cutting-edge design and next-generation dual skin-safe blade heads for different shaves. It's pretty much a spaceship to take your boys downstairs to the next level. So join the 9 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with the brand new Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra by going to manscaped.com for 20% off plus free shipping with the promo code. Here it is. You ready? Promo code Dolphins. High tech for low prices. That's Manscaped. And it's the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra with the promo code Dolphins. You know, we always make it easy on you. We put that link in the description and the comment of today's video. But it's wild. You listen, everybody does it. You got to take care of down there. And the best way to do it is with the Manscaped Lawnmower Ultra 5.0. I'm excited to use it because, listen, it's important to take care of it down there, and it's even better to save some money while doing so. That's why we've got 20% off at manscaped.com with the code Dolphins. All right, more questions to get into. This one from Todd Watson. Hello, Todd. Todd. That's our guy. Dolphins, please answer the latest on Channing Tindall. Now, Channing Tindall, yes, he was, I believe, a third-round draft pick of the Dolphins and hasn't really played a lot. So he played a little bit versus the Broncos in that blowout towards the very end, and there just really hasn't been a lot of news or information around him being an impactful player for the Dolphins, and I don't think he's necessarily a guy that has found favor with Vic Fangio and that defensive staff. And so, unfortunately, I really don't think he's a guy that you're going to see play other than in some garbage time like he did against the Broncos. So, don't really have a lot on Tindall, but it is what it is. That happens in the National Football League. I mean, you watch Hard Knocks every week. Every year. There's guys that just don't make it. I'm not saying Tindall's that guy, but he hasn't been that guy to this point in his career yet. Next question: when will Claypool play? Soon, I hope. I hope on Sunday Night Football. That would be awesome to see him on prime time on a national stage in front of a national audience, get some playing time for the Aqua and Orange. And, you know, like Mike McDaniel said, a 6'4" speed demon wide receiver is somebody that he can find a place for, no problem. So he didn't play last weekend against the Panthers. He was a healthy scratch, and you know, it takes some time to get acclimated, learn the offense. So I'm not saying 2 weeks is enough time. I'm not saying it's not enough time. There's potential we could see him on Sunday against the Eagles. If you're asking me, if you're asking Jake Riepma, I say Sunday. But I think in the coming days, we'll continue to get reports out of Miami on how well he's progressing in terms of grasping the offense. So I hope it's Sunday, but I'll say it'll be in the near future. And just like Jalen Ramsey, let's say before the bye week, because you made the trade for Chase Claypool, you want to see him in the lineup. I believe it's going to be sooner rather than later. Cindy Jacobs, my friend, your friend, how are you? Thanks for asking us a question on Dolphins today. What do the Dolphins need to do to beat the Eagles on Sunday Night Football? Well, I gave you my keys to victory on our preview, so you can check that out on our page on YouTube. But it's real simple. You got to continue to be elite on offense because make no mistake about it, this offense is generationally good. And I should look up in the encyclopedia or the thesaurus, I guess would be a better resource for different ways to say how special this offense is. Electric, problematic for the opposition, potent, high octane, elite, all different ways to describe this offense, and it's the strength of the team. So I know the cliche saying is defense wins championships. I'm not begrudging that. I'm not discounting that. But when your offense is as good as the Dolphins is, you got to continue to utilize that as the strength of the team. So I don't care how good the defense is, the opposition, I'm betting on the Dolphins offense every time. So continue to be elite on offense. Make Jalen Hurts uncomfortable. He's coming off his worst game of the season, maybe his worst game as a pro. So if the Dolphins can continue to make the opposition and the opposing quarterback uncomfortable like they have all season, they have some of the top pass rushing stats, including being second in the NFL in total sacks, I believe Jalen Hurts is going to have a tough day. The secondary. We've been talking about the secondary a lot because Jalen Ramsey is practicing. He's not going to be ready to go against the Philadelphia Eagles, but Xavien Howard nursing a groin injury. And the secondary has been a weakness, especially in that loss to Buffalo. So this is a prove-it game for the secondary. Can they play their best game? It's important in terms of the keys to victory for them to be at their very best. And that offensive line, it gets buried, which is not fair. And if you watch some of our old videos, you know I'm doing my best to praise the offensive line because they deserve it. They've been exceptional. So if they can keep it up, I believe that will help the Dolphins be successful on Sunday Night Football against the Eagles. So do it now. You know how it works. Predict the score. Everybody out there, I need your score prediction in the comments. I'm still working on mine. You think we should give it? Should I give it? Should I give it? Let's do it. Yeah. I had 34-31. I think the Dolphins get it done 34-31 and pull out the road victory and send the fans home angry, and those Philly fans and our guy here at Chat Sports, Chase Sr., they go home, and Chipper and all the other Eagles fans, they go home sad with their second straight loss. So we'll see. We'll see. Or they might say, hey, Riepma, eat you know what. So we'll see. All right, a couple more questions to get into. When will we see Jalen Ramsey make his return? That's from Howard Huey. We've been talking about it all day, and it's such a fun thing to talk about. I will beat the dead horse on this one. I will reiterate again, Jalen Ramsey practiced today. He is way ahead of schedule. He is trending in the direction of being able to play before, let me say it again, before the Dolphins bye week. So that means either against the Patriots or against the Chiefs. If he keeps this up, we will see him before the bye week. Remember, that Chiefs game is in Germany. Couple more questions. Batman, again. Oh, thank you, Batman, for the question. We appreciate it. Great teams usually get nicknames. What will this team be called? Legion of Zoom? That is a good one. I've heard that one because Legion of Zoom, obviously there was the Legion of Boom, but they are so fast when you talk about, obviously, Tyreek Hill, Devon Achane, Raheem Mostert. They are the track stars. I feel like whatever network they're playing on, whether it be CBS or Fox, and it'll be NBC on Sunday Night Football, they always have some kind of stat graphic of how fast these players are. So maybe that's why. And because the identity of this team is the offense, I think the nickname will be something centered around the offense. And they had the greatest show on turf, that Rams team in 99 and 2000. Maybe it's the greatest show on earth. And although maybe we could tie in something with the Dolphins too. Something with the greatest show I don't know. We'll work on that. We'll work on that. That's a good one though. Why isn't Cam Smith playing more? Fins fan 2003. I have the exact same question. We could change Fins fan to Jake Riepma on this question. I got to know too. And you know what? All the beat writers want to know. I feel like I read a tweet every day from the beat writers urging Vic Fangio to give this kid a shot. He's the second-round pick out of South Carolina, had great numbers at the Combine. We saw him on Sunday against the Panthers in garbage time, and he was flying around. He looked fast. He made a tackle. I would love to see what he's got, but maybe Vic Fangio and the defensive staff feel he's just not quite ready. That's the only explanation I have. But let me know what you think. Does Cam Smith see more time this coming game on Sunday Night Football? It's real simple. Type Y for yes or N for no. I sure hope he does. All right, Anthony Manzano. This is the last one. Dolphins, do you think we make another big-time trade for a linebacker or maybe a defensive back, and who? Now, we had our trade talk segment. If you missed that one, definitely go back and check it out because there are some names out there. Brian Burns comes to mind for the Carolina Panthers, Patrick Surtain for the Denver Broncos, but I don't know. This is a gut thing, and take it for what you will. I just don't see the Dolphins making another blockbuster trade like they have. I was already surprised to see when they traded for Chase Claypool, but it's still early. There's still time before the deadline. I'm just not quite certain if now is the time. But at the same time, you're 5-1. We'll see what happens Sunday. Maybe it is the time to go all in. But I love the team that they have now. I really do. I really do. So I don't know how much future capital you want to give up in exchange for one more piece. But if the right deal's there, maybe Chris Grier will make it. So let me know. Sunday Night Football, Dolphins versus Eagles. Predict the score in the comments and let me know. As always, appreciate you watching Dolphins Today. Woo! Shout outs all the way. Sherry May is in the comments. Galaxy Stargazer, Raheem Mostert, Devon Achane go over 1,000 rush yards? Absolutely they do. There is no doubt about it. Couple people not ready to predict the score yet. That's okay. You'll be ready for Sunday, because don't forget, we've got that live watch party, baby. It's going to be awesome. Live watch party on Sunday. Join us for that. Sunday night football, Dolphins, Eagles. Love you guys. It's going to be a lot of fun. We got a lot of fun things planned, including that 50-50 raffle. We'll also have an awesome super chat giveaway like we always do. Non-stop fun on Dolphins today. And a Sunday night watch party. What gets better than that, baby? Nothing. Nothing gets better than that. Nothing gets better than Dolphins today. I love Dolphins today. You love Dolphins today. It's the best. You guys are the best. Thanks for spending over an hour and 15 minutes with me. That's what I'm talking about. Sherry May, of course, will have a Dolphins race on Sunday. That's going to be a staple of the program moving forward. We love those Dolphins races. They just flip around. It's great. It's awesome. I love it. You love it. Jack loves it. Lots of love going all the way around. And you can get into the raffle already. All you got to do is Venmo me, and I take the money and I go spend it. I'm just kidding. I don't do that. The money goes into the pot. I just wanted to give Jack a heart attack there. And then we give it immediately back to the winner. And all the winners can attest that we send that Venmo out before we even get into the second half. So that's what we're all about here on Dolphins Today. So love you guys. It was a blast again. Hey, did you like the hour early start time? I mean, normally we're on at 5, but we hopped on at 4 because I just couldn't wait to tell you about Jalen Ramsey. So, love you guys. Fins fans for life. Fins up all the time. Let's go get another W on Sunday and move to 6-1 and continue to put the NFL on notice. Fins fans for life. We'll see you next time on Dolphins Today. See ya.